Welcome to another movie plot and enjoy the memories. We open in the near future when the oceans have dried up and the last tree has fallen. The surface has become unbreathable, so humans have moved underground into subterranean wastelands that look like subway stations. Beneath what was once Los Angeles, the bodyguard turned fashion designer Lori is tied to a bed by a guy working for the local mob. Her old boss has sent Yoyo to offer her a job, and you can tell this woman means business because she shanks a mannequin. She then forcibly kisses her henchman boyfriend and crawls over Lori, threatening to cut her as a test to see if she can escape. Not sure how cutting the shirt helps, but Lori uses the rattling of a passing train to catch a falling pair of scissors and cut her bindings. She headbutts Yoyo, then takes out the Stooges before getting caught, but it was enough to earn her the job as the dressmaker still got it. The role entails slicking her hair back and working as a bodyguard for the crime boss Juice, while Yoyo gets caught rubbing her boyfriend in the background. Juice says that if Lori completes the mission she will have enough money to retire from this life, but she already had until you roped her back in. The group attend a party where the double-wide dealer wants to sell some mind-altering computer chips to her psychotherapist Plughead. He's covered in brain implants and just sticks them right on his dome, as well as has an unnerving attraction to Lori that he doesn't try to hide. Juice had them delivered here from New York by an android named Danner, who has been programmed to believe he has a missing girlfriend. She forces him to perform tasks for her to bring him nearer to his lost love, but the whole story is fake and Juice is just ruthless. Some of the crowd standing around watching the deal turn out to be undercover cops led by Beanie, who isn't the brightest flashlight. Yoyo opens fire, causing the power to go out, and everyone escapes while Beanie nearly shoots his partner Squid in the chaos. As they're fleeing through corridors, Lori rounds a corner and is punched to the ground by Plughead, who takes the chips from Juice. He's about to let them both live until the boss lady begins insulting him, so Pluggy breaks her neck and goes to do the same to Lori. She knees him in the balls with some clawed knee pad that she never uses again and steals the briefcase before making a run for it. The Cyborg becomes the new leader of the gang, so Yoyo is all over him while her boyfriend must sit in the corner and watch. Lori decides to take the chips to New York and sell them back to the supplier, but needs Danner's experience on how to get there. The android threatens to stick a bottle in his own neck if she doesn't reveal his lover's whereabouts, so Lori tells him she's in New York. It gets him to shut up, and they visit a mechanic named Jugs who's only a top half wedged between a bunch of scrap metal. He gives them a 1964 Ford Galaxy 500 XL because he likes the pair and says the government never should have stopped making androids. Dan drives them across the country through a maze of underground parking while crying about his fake girlfriend the whole time. Lori puts up with the complaining so that he keeps driving until getting swarmed by slimy subterranean leeches. They're forced to ditch the convertible as it fills with the ceiling dwellers until receiving assistance from a flamethrower-wielding local. He introduces himself as Mr. Leech before taking the blood-sucking covered Danner back to his home to burn off his namesakes with a cigar. Leech knows they're smuggling illegal contraband to be passing through here and comes on to Lori, but she threatens him with a crotch knife. He's been throwing leeches into a cauldron this whole time and pulls one out to eat it raw while saying that the only way out is topside. Meanwhile, Plughead follows their trail to Jugs, where he steals a '55 Chevy truck containing automated machine guns. For pleasure, Plughead connects to the vehicle before he sticks it into the top of Jugs' skull to learn Lori's location. By the time the police arrive, Plughead's already left, and it looks like someone stuck an egg beater into Jugs' skull. They vacuum out what's left of his brain to decipher, while Squid notices Beanie's sister posing for a calendar on the wall. He then takes a bite of the stew before realizing that they're disgusting leeches, as they just keep making one blunder after the next. When Danner's repaired, they retrieve the car and put on the roof, as they need to trap oxygen inside to breathe on the surface. They've traded a few bottles of oxy in exchange for giving Leech a lift to New Jersey, but Plughead catches up. Yoyo loses her boyfriend to the leeches, so they leave him behind and chase the trio past the police. Beavis and Butthead take some shots, but the car goes straight through a hologram wall onto the surface, and Plughead follows. He gives Yoyo a tube to stick up her nose so that she doesn't suffocate, but our trio manage to gain some distance traveling the wasteland. A love story begins to develop between Lori and her battery-operated savior, who eventually pulls over at an oxygen bar because even androids need it. The outside world isn't completely uninhabitable, but if Mahi doesn't like you, then you're going to get thrown into an airlock and suffocate. Danner saves some guy from certain death, but then wages their car on a game of pool in exchange for oxygen to reach New York. Mahi says that Danner takes the guy's place if he loses, but he sinks every ball off the break because that's just how androids roll. Feeling cheated, Mahi has him thrown in the airlock, so Lori comes to the rescue with her groin knife and bodyguard training. We see more of Dan's face than what's happening outside, but she takes on the drunk patrons until getting overwhelmed. Mahi decides to let them both go because he likes the fight in Lori, but unfortunately Leech has stolen the car and deserted the pair. Their new friend gives them a lift in the back of his oxygenated 18-wheeler, where there's another moment of romantic tension. Dan says he can't remember what the woman he's fighting for looks like as they get drunk and eat grapes or something. Meanwhile, Plughead arrives at the oxygen bar and probably drains the life out of everyone here for information, but it's done off screen. He learns the couple's direction through the desert but runs into a group of motorcycle bandits whose leader Fatch needs a little umbrella. When he removes Plughead's breathing tube, the truck's auto turret kills a gang member, so the old leader is forced to reapply it with his lips. Now with a gang of generic wastelanders behind him, Plughead swiftly catches up to the truck, but the couple have already escaped. They've left behind an oxy bomb that doesn't take out many, so knowing they won't make it far, Danner chooses to remain behind as a distraction. Lori continues to New York while Dan kisses her before handing himself over, as he's clearly moved on from old what's-her-name. We cut to the morning with Danner being held hostage by the Plughead's bandits who have Mahi spread-eagled between their bikes. The leader plugs into the truck driver's brain so that he can experience the pain of him being ripped apart like a pizza. Intending to do the same thing to Danner, Plughead attaches one of his cords but is disappointed to learn this is only an android. He shows Dan footage of Juice saying that his lover never really existed and leaves him a blade, assuming the program will shut itself down. However, Danner had already forgotten about that girl, and when the Beanie Brigade arrive, he uses the knife to rob them. He takes Squid's pistol, which turns into a revolver later when he actually uses it, and jumps on a bike to take off after Lori. She's struggling through the desert towards New York City until her tank runs out of oxygen and she collapses. Leech shows up out of nowhere as he just happened to be in the area and trades her a bottle in exchange for the suitcase of chips. He says that Dan is dead because nobody survives being plugged into the Plughead, then gives her a lift to his hometown. Leech only brings Lori with him because he needs her contacts in order to sell the chips and feels kinda bad she lost her robot. Once they arrive in the Big Apple, they're ambushed by Juice, who somehow survived a broken neck and wants the suitcase back. Her only thugling is about to cut Leech's hand off to separate the case, but is shot dead by Yoyo, who arrives with her new crew. Fortunately, Fatch cuts the handcuffs off without spilling a single drop of blood while Plughead walks around gloating about his victory. Suddenly the Fuzz arrive, being led by the two Stooges, so Pluggy knocks out Lori and whisks her away to get weird somewhere else. Yoyo and the bandits have a shootout with Beanie and Squid while Plughead reveals that it was never about the chips and always about Lori. He just wants to jack into her head, but Danner arrives with his romance novel-looking haircut and a revolver that he uses to dome Pluggy. Baldy just takes it and a couple more to his torso before powering through for the final showdown with the android. He brings Danner into his mind, which is filled with fields of charred corpses, and Plughead somehow looks even more grotesque. Tentacle Head remarks that the machine is pathetic and being a cyborg is much cooler, so Danner picks up a knife and says that he's special. He sticks it in himself and pulls a flaming sword out in what I guess is a show of his love for Lori, because Plughead calls him Romeo. With a single swing he cuts down the mind version of Pluggy, which also kills you in the real world, or at least until the sequel. Nobody even checks this man's pulse, and Danner just kisses Lori as Leech makes his escape with Yoyo and the briefcase. They realize that it's empty but just leave anyway, as both have had enough of running around the wasteland for now. Dan drops the handful of computer chips that he swiped, and Lori says she expects something a little more romantic than just that. Danner changes the channel to appear like that romance novel cover he got a haircut for, and they walk off into the sunset. And the movie ends.